Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. It's Wednesday, Miss Patty. You know,
Is that what? Are you sure?
since we made this backdrop for the women on Wednesday, it has never been more accurate. Like my mom texted me and she's like, "Why aren't you on the air?" And I was like, "I am," and I looked and I didn't hit the go live button. And I got like 9 million text messages that are not morning text messages right before the show. Like
What would you do without Mom and Simon?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Between Mom, Simon, and Miss Patty. Oh no, now my AirPod is dying.
someone has to keep you on track.
I don't know what to do with my hands today. It just seems like if there was a fire, like everything was great, and then I felt like Hawaii. Didn't see it coming.
Don't say fire. Because it's so dry in Texas. Don't even say the word. Anyway.
It is. And did you see that there were fires in Austin? One of the homeless encampments, one of the big ones off of I-35 caught on fire.
Did no one see that coming? I mean, how do they cook?
Everyone was like, literally why we've been saying we don't want these in our state.
Well,
but Austin's like, we do what we want because we like to keep it weird. You want to hear a funny joke? It's not a joke. It was like, this is real life that happened to me. I was in Austin. This was after the 2020 election. I was at a Stop the Steal. It was a Saturday after January 6th. So it wasn't really a Stop the Steal. It was but anyway, it was a big rally. Alan West's team was putting it all on and whatever. Originally I was going to speak, but then all that crap happened in DC and, the FBI was visiting Walter, like all that kind of crap. So we decided I was there, but I wasn't speaking. I was like, you know what? I'm not here emotionally right now to be able to speak at this event. So anyway, we're there, we're with other people. And I ordered the, breakfast for the people that were staying in the house together. And the DoorDash lady comes and I'm getting the stuff and everything. And I'm talking about, oh yeah, we're here from out of town, blah, blah, blah. And then I said something about, it was a great conversation. And then I said something about, well, that's the cool thing about Austin because we just keep it weird up here. Right. And she's like, that's a very rude thing to say.
I said, well,
I said it's literally the city's motto. I didn't make it up. And she like puffed away. And I said, it's on T-shirts here. It's on billboards. What do you want from me?
It's not an original statement. It's been the motto for many years.
So we have, y'all won't believe this, but we have Texas stuff in our house. And so when we got the new couch set a couple years ago, I was at Home Goods or something, and they had all of these Texas pillows, like the nice down-filled ones on sale. I got them for like $4. I was like, heck yeah. So I have all these cool little Texas pillows on the big couch in the living room. And one of them says, keep Austin weird. Why? Because, well, Austin, not that that's our favorite city, but that's my middle son's name is Austin. And he's a lefty. And so we've always teased that he keeps it weird, right? Because he's a lefty. Apparently my pillow is offensive. It's blue too.
We'd like to keep Austin weird because we need a place for the weirdos to go.
That's fair.
It just needs to be further. It needs to be further away.
Further away, like California. That's fine.
Yeah, that would be good.
Further away,
Austin,
like California.
Austin, California. So, who has puppies? I saw.
Oh my gosh, we do. So, okay. Y'all remember we got Brody and that whole story, right? He just showed up on our doorstep and it was this beautiful moment. Like, that's our puppy. Well, Brody is apparently a little bit older than we thought he was.
He?
Yes, it was a he, but he was older than we thought he was. And now we have puppies.
Okay.
Now, because this is Women on Wednesday, I can tell the story here and the guys aren't going to gag, but guys who are watching, you're welcome anyway. So we have the first puppy during the show, right about the 11 o'clock hour. Then we have the second puppy before the show is over, right? Alex comes in, he was calling them all Mambos. And he was like doing the Mambo number 5. And he was like, whatever. Anyways, the second one's born. So then the third one comes. We have 6 total. So then the third one comes, and Charlotte's standing there, and she goes, "Why does Cookie look at her hoo-hoo? Is it coming out of her? How's it coming out of her hoo-hoo?" And I was like, "Well, baby, that's what hoo-hoos are for, is for babies to come out of." And she goes, "Oh!" And she goes, "Why? That's gross." And I was like, "You're gonna have to take that up with Jesus, honey. I got that one for you, but it's just the way this works. Welcome, nature's a beautiful thing." So then she goes, apparently, now this didn't happen to me, this happened to her father. She walks away, she comes back, and she's got her little Barbies, have a little Barbie puppy dog. And she comes up to Manny and she hands it to him, and she goes, "This came out of my hoo-hoo." And he goes, No, it didn't. No, it did not. No. Girls can't have puppies. Only dogs can have puppies.
I watched the show yesterday. I wondered what was going on because it wasn't like 100% clear. And I thought, maybe I'm just too old for this show. Or maybe this is like, anyway, it wasn't clear what was going on.
The whole thing was just because, okay, so like a week ago, I ordered stuff off of Amazon, and it was like a little whelping pool and, a new, a cheapy kind of little bed for Cookie to be able to, have some comfort inside the whelping pool and all the little pads and all that kind of crap, right? So then I told Austin before I went out of town, I said, "Hey, clear this area out, take everything out from it, and we'll have Cookie set up here and X, Y, and Z." Well, then I get back, and guess what had not been done? He didn't do any of it. Now, during this time I was gone, I FaceTimed with him and said, "There's a box. It was delivered. It's probably a decent sized box. Please." And Alex didn't know what it was, so it just had my name on it, so he put it in my room. So then fast forward, Monday, I said, "Austin Drake, if you do not take care of this area, I'm going to murder you. Like, those puppies are coming." And he's like, "I don't even think she's pregnant." And I was like, "She literally waddles when she talks, and she's got babies. She's pregnant, okay? It doesn't matter what you think.
Yeah.
This is happening." So then yesterday, so finally he got the area cleaned up. We got everything set up, and I said, "Okay, guys, here's where everything is, just in case this happens when I'm not home," and, blah, 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 right? So sure enough, all of a sudden, Alex comes running through, and he stands right behind my computer, and he's just standing there. Now, Alex, he's a teenage boy, so he's weird sometimes, right? Sometimes he does that just to see what I'm doing while I'm on the air. So I didn't really take too much from it. But then all of a sudden, Manny comes running in, and I'm like, Manny never comes running in and just stares at me while I'm on the air. And so I was like,
okay.
And so then all of a sudden, Manny goes like this, and I look, and there's a puppy on his phone, and I was like, "Oh, no." Oh, so fast forward, we have all the drama. She has all the puppies within about 2 hours. We didn't lose any. Everyone is good. We've got we have 4 blondes and 2 brunettes. So we have 6 total. One of them is almost all the way black, except for like a little tip on its tail and like a little spot on its nose. And then they are just darling. But so anyway, all is well. Everyone is healthy and happy. We're having to, as with most new moms. Now the biggest scare is that Cookie had really bad PTSD after the last puppies, or not PTSD. What's it? Postpartum, like awful. Like for almost 2 years, like we couldn't, and then she lost one of the, like we kept one of them, and then that puppy ended up dying. And so she like just went into this awful depression. So like we're having a hard time like getting her to, she's not being mean protective. In fact, she lets the kids come in and, pet her and all that kind of stuff. She gets a little bit like when someone tries to reach for a puppy, but other than that, she's been really good. But I can't get her to get out of the pen to eat or drink. So we brought her some wet food yesterday a couple of times, and she snarfed it down naturally. But I'm like, I told Alex, I said, we'll give her till after the show, and if she hasn't gotten out of the pen, the pen, we're gonna have to manipulate her a little bit, because she's got to get up and drink. I said, or she's not gonna be able to feed the puppies. And so he was like, well, and then he kind of giggled, and he's like, it'll be like one of those It'll be like one of those cartoons where the dust comes out of the hose. And I was like, that's exactly what it'll be. It's always something, Miss Patty. There's always something going on around here.
You need to videotape you removing her from the box, because it probably will be a sight to be seen.
Yeah, we might also have to for insurance purposes and all fairness.
I would wear protective gear just in case. One never knows what a new mom is going to do.
Well, exactly. And like the first puppy, so she got sick yesterday throughout the night. She got sick, but she was sleeping under the bed, and that's her favorite place to sleep is under the bed. And it's under the bed in Manny's room. And so she's in there, and I went through because Arthur was in the shower. It's the first day of school yesterday. I go through to bring Arthur something or whatever, and I was like, why does your room smell like pepperoni? It smells like potted meat in here. What in the world? And he's like, dude, I don't know. Cookie kept making all these weird noises last night too. And I was like, you might want to check that out. And so sure enough, as soon as I said that, he looks under the bed and it's just covered in throw up. And she comes running out of the bedroom and she chugs we have like one of those 2-gallon water, automatic waterers. She chugs almost all of it. And so we just kind of looked at each other and we put her outside because we're like, yeah, she's going to need to pee now. And then about 30 minutes into the show, that's when I guess she had the first one, but she had it outside. And right before the show started, like the dog was just going, because Brody's in the backyard now, like he's not inside right now. And so he's like losing his mind barking in the backyard. And I was that close to saying, hey, why don't you bring Cookie in before the show starts? And I didn't. And I regret not following my instincts. So She had the first puppy outside next to the back door on the pig's pillow, because we have a literal circus around here. And so so everything was well, but we were able to, I think Manny guided Cookie and Alex got gloves and brought them inside to the whelping pool and shed the rest of them inside. But that's just that part of the day. So needless to say, I have no idea how the first day of school went because nobody cared about the first day of school when they came home and found puppies.
Though I did see pictures. Arthur was rather spiffied up.
So this is the cutest thing ever because we talk about politics so much in our house, and then especially in my world. And so then we last year, I think the mayor or somebody came and spoke about different roles and stuff like that in your community and whatever at the end of the year. So now he is going to be a mayor. And so that's why he wanted to wear his suit jacket at the end of last year. And he wore a tie. And I gave him, I had gotten one of the state reps, like little lapel pins in one of their offices when I was visiting. And so I said, hey, would you like to wear this? This was at the end of the school year last year. So he has held on to that. I did not know this. He has held on to that in a very special place in his room because he is a mayor. And so he was wearing this little suit jacket that was actually too small because it was kind of too small when he wore it for last day of school, or for his award ceremony, but he insisted that he had to have it because he's a mayor. And so he was I did not know how dramatic this really was, but he said when we did the back to school shopping the week before last, he's like, Mom, I need clothes so I look like a mayor. Like, okay. And I said, but all your school clothes fit, but I always make sure they have at least one brand new outfit. Right. But because when all of your uniforms fit, it's just uniforms, who cares? Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he's like, he wanted to wear his suit or his shirt and his tie and his little Texas representative's pin and the whole entire thing. So he was very, very dapper because he's going to be a mayor.
He was, might suggest to him that most politicians don't wear shorts with the tie.
Shorts and knee-high socks.
And knee-high red socks to match his tie. I did appreciate that they were color coordinated.
And he did that on his own. I was very proud of him as well.
I think someday when he actually is running for office, that's going to be used on his campaign poster.
Yes, it will be.
Be sure you save that picture.
Well, it's really funny. We have Walter and I are really are friends with the sheriff in Zapata County, and he's a Democrat, but he actually is very vocal in a lot of the Republican stuff. In fact, he endorsed Governor Abbott and has been doing a lot of stuff in that world. He's like, I'm still a Democrat. And we're like, Well, anyway, because we've been saying it since day one. We're like, you're not a Democrat. You're not even close to a Democrat. You don't even. Anyway, he's actually a really good guy, and so he's always doing the right thing for Zapata County. And anyway, so I was laughing about something, and I said it out loud to him when we were at the sheriff's convention, and he says, "Hey," because Walter said something about, "Hey, there's that guy who's actually a Republican." He goes, "No, I'm a Democrat, but I do have a red tie now." So when Arthur Ward. And so that's kind of been the joke. Walter's like, there you go. See, we're already winning you over. You got a red tie now. And you look very smart in that red tie.
He's undercover.
He's undercover.
Uh-huh.
We're getting him, Miss Patty. We're getting him.
Slowly but surely. So
Today,
I understand that Ashley's supposed to be on the show.
She said, we have the text message proof that she said that she was going to be here.
I said I'd believe it when I see it.
You did. And now we're starting, you know what? I feel like we should call her.
Yeah.
Or maybe she, there's a time difference where she's at. Maybe she just doesn't know what time it is.
Tell her that my agent double booked me today, so she needs to come on soon because I won't be here the whole time.
No. And Rachel's not going to be with us today.
Yeah, he seems to double book me often. I don't know if he's trying to.
I'm going to have to have a conversation with your agent.
You may have to. I keep saying, why on Wednesday?
Yeah. There's like 6 other days in the week.
Anyway.
Maybe she's having chicken drama.
Or she's looking for bananas. I don't know. Chicken drama.
I love her voicemail. Sometimes I call it just to laugh at it.
Oh.
Because it sounds like Morgan Freeman. And he's like, it goes into this whole spiel. It's actually really hysterical.
I'm going to have Piper go out and record her chickens and send it to me. Okay, so did you ever watch the video I sent you about the squirrel?
I did. Let me pull this video.
That was the most hilarious thing I'd seen. Did you notice he has a cage in the house? And the reason why it struck me, I said, here, this is a wild animal, raccoon, and they keep it in the house, but it's a squirrel. And I thought, Sandra, you need to watch this.
I need a squirrel. You know what? I just need something cute and lovable. That's what I need in my world. I don't have enough going on, so I feel like there's nothing that can backfire from this plan, I think.
Yeah, I have a suggestion. You get something that doesn't eat and poop, which would be like a stuffed animal. They come and they're cute and lovable.
Now you sound like Walter. I've got stuffed animals. I mean, that's a normal thing.
You don't need.
I even have my original teddy bear.
He's
on my bed. I sleep with him every night.
You don't need anything that is more drama. So, are you looking for the squirrel?
I'm looking for the squirrel. Inbox, Center for Texas. It wasn't that many days ago that you sent it to me.
No, it wasn't. But I thought that was just like, what a ham.
Oh my gosh.
I would say if Walter were a squirrel, that would be Walter. All the drama in one little package.
I'm not even going to tell you wrong. I even just tried to put your name in and it wouldn't pop up this month.
Well, darn.
Hold on. I can find it on my phone. Why can't I find it here? But you get mad when I show things from my phone.
Well, you can't see them.
Yes. Well, that's a real part of the problem.
Yeah.
It might be the whole part of the problem.
And on this particular video, the seeing is the important part. Because you have to be able to.
You sent it to me from Pat Tibbs, right? Or P. Tibbs?
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all can hear that or not.
I don't ever go incognito.
You don't live that thug lifestyle, Miss Patty.
Now, no. Not me. What you see is what you get. I was trying to go back and see if I could find. Well, yeah, I think I emailed it to you, and I was going to email it to me to Simon because I thought he would get a kick out of it, but Where did it
Well, Pip,
go?
I can't find it. I know I can't find it either. We'll have to find it. We'll have to find it because it is really hysterical. Y'all will get a good laugh at it.
And everybody needs a good laugh every now and then.
No, no drama from a lame. What? Bacon has the link, but I think he's busy. I don't know. So if you can hear or not, but you'll hear a little, and it's a little puppies carrying on. Well, y'all won't believe this, but those sweet little two littles that we have that run around here sometimes, Arthur and Charlotte. Sometimes when you put them to bed, they don't really go to bed. Sometimes they like to sit up there and play and carry on and giggle, right? I know. I knew nobody would believe that on the show. Well, last night, and it was almost, I think it was like 9:30 or so, I heard what sounded like Charlotte giggling. Man, I tore off into that room and I yanked that door wide open and they're both passed out. And I was like, so but they were like passed out. Like you don't even have to do the fake double check, right? Like they were just like they were dead. And so I was like, what in the? And so then I come back. There was the puppies.
Yeah. Maybe you need a sound machine in there.
Simon said that we might need a new show where I just imitate him.
Yeah, let's see your raccoon imitation.
I can't do it when I'm laughing, but I do accents and stuff. So that's a real thing.
Here's your squirrel.
So okay, when Simon Ken loves it when we just are ridiculous shows like this. So Ken is getting his fill. He's getting super excited about this.
Has he seen the squirrel video?
I don't know. I'm mad that I can't find the squirrel video. I'm gonna have to search for this now because that was what do you want me to do, Simon? So this morning, this was exciting. This morning when we were leaving for school, we're getting up for school and doing all that kind of jazz. And there was a whole family of deer that came running up. Hold on. Oh, let me see if I can just I'm gonna post this on Facebook. I'm gonna post on Facebook, and then that way y'all can see it because it was super cute. And Arthur and Charlotte were like, "It's like a whole family," because there was a doe and there was a buck, and then there was two little ones. Like they still had bright white spots and everything. It's super cute. Oh, the animal impressions. So okay, all right. Look, here's some real talk about animals. So people don't know, but animals do have their own little languages. They also can telecommunicate with me. So I know what they're thinking. I'm not crazy. This is real life. And
they have a little bubble that comes up and says it.
Yes, but not everybody can see the bubble, but I hear it. It's real. I could start an only hear me out. An OnlyFans page, but just for animals. I like it. It might be a thing for other reasons. You know what? Never mind, Simon. That could go a whole wrong way. Never mind. Just kidding. Don't freak out, world. Don't freak out. All right, we do have. I'm sure there's some real news somewhere in this mess. Yesterday we played
again.
Oh, you found it again? Okay. Before we talk about things that we are going to have to kind of just pull up.
Maybe it'll bring Ashley to the show.
Maybe you know what? Because Ashley also speaks animalese. She does. I've seen her do it.
I speak to animals.
Yeah. It's not get on my plate, is it? Because that's how Walter speaks to them, and it's not the same.
Not most of them. I usually are like, get out of my flower bed. No. Stop digging that hole. I like them in their own place.
In their own place.
Dogs, cats, birds, I love. Fish. But wild animals, I stay in the wild.
But sometimes they don't want to be wild. They just want to be loved.
Except
I sound like my Aunt Phyllis. I can only hear my mother.
It is. You notice he's in the laundry room, it looks like. Looks like a pretty good sized squirrel. I think he's very dramatic. What do you think? Did you show that? Did you show that to Charlotte? I can see Charlotte doing that now.
I did. We teased that when that we had seen that video before, and we started laughing. We're like, if Austin was a flying squirrel, that would be Austin. And he's like, that's not even funny. Austin gets mad because we still make jokes about when he was little and about how they relate to him as a teenager now, and he doesn't think that they're very funny. And we're like, I mean, but it's 100% accurate.
Yeah, well, they do cute things, and we need to remember those funny things because when they get to be teenagers, they're not all good. Some of them get to be very, uh, very tiring and very frustrating. So the funny things are good to bring in.
I have I say it all the time. I have amazing big boys. I really do. And even like right now where Austin got his classes and he was kind of like, why did I get these classes? And so I'm trying to convince him to keep them, not convince him, but because they're a bunch of FFA classes and stuff. And now he has to put up or shut up with it. And he's kind of mad about it because that wasn't really what he wanted to do. But he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do. And he doesn't want to do the competition part of FFA. He doesn't even necessarily want an animal because he's like, I've got plenty of animals. And I said, well, this one's for meat though. Like it's not like you. I said, I get it. It's because you don't want to kill it. And he's like, I literally will look it in its eyeballs as it dies. And I was like, you will not. You're such a liar. He is so full of it. But anyway, so we were talking about other aspects of FFA. And I think that the other aspects of FFA really do get overshadowed from the animal stuff. And it's kind of a shame because there's a lot of other opportunities in FFA. There's the woodworking stuff. There's welding. There's, you can do stitching and all of that kind of stuff. You could actually even do a garden.
When did they shift woodworking and welding into FFA?
I don't know the answer to that. I think it was because they were losing the funding for those in regular, like as its own standalone, but FFA was willing to pick it up because those are things that you need to do to keep a farm running or keep a ranch going. So I think they were willing to pull those into the FFA family. I'm making this up, by the way. This is just a total assumption on it, but that's like my thought on why it would.
Wait, that's the politician in you. Just if you don't know the answer, just make it up.
Just make it up. And as long as it sounds convincing and you say it with conviction, it's fine. Yeah. See, Miss Oneida does stuff in schools. It's because it's a vocational program.
Yeah. I think I think all the children need to be introduced to those things.
Yep.
When young people get out of school, they need to know how things work. And welding and auto mechanics was a big one. When I was in school, almost all of the young men took woodworking, they took metal shop, and they took auto mechanics. So they could work on their own cars. Young boys now today don't know how to change their oil. Heck, they don't even know where the dipstick is.
Yeah, and they really don't.
And before our daughter went off to college, she had to know how to change her oil, change a flat tire, even change the transmission fluid on her car, because people need to know how to handle things like that during emergency situations.
Yep.
But and like general household repairs, we've had people say, well, I'm having to hire someone to do this because I don't know how to do it. And we're going, that is so easy. I can't believe you don't know how to do it. Yeah. Anyway, I think the vocations need to be back in schools and push those instead of some of the dumb stuff that they do push.
Yep. No, well, and that's the whole thing. And so Austin's also but they didn't call it mechanic shop. They called it I'll tell you what they called it because none of us really knew. And we thought it was going to be more of like a oil and gas kind of concept because it was like, I think it's called like energy something. And so hold on here. Where's the schedule? It's called Energy, Power, and Transportation Systems. So with a name like that, you kind of think it's going to be, oil and gas, wind energy, solar energy, interfacing, like something along these lines, right?
No.
Apparently that's now auto shop.
Did they offer home economics and cooking and sewing in schools anymore?
Apparently they do, because I know when we were making his schedule when we were signing up for his classes last year, they we can always circle back to rodent talk. I got it pulled up, Simon. That was one that he picked because he wanted to be able to learn how to. I'm like, what am I, chopped liver? And he's like, you're literally not here half of our day or half of the week. Like, and besides, there's stuff that, he's like, it's a class. He goes, but it might open me up to some other stuff that I may not know how to do, or we don't talk about, or haven't thought about. And I was like, you know what? That's fair. Originally, he told me it was because he wanted to learn how to cook. And I almost slapped the taste out of his mouth. But I didn't. There was a lot of restraint. Like, that was like that, that politician practice that we talk, where you just like got to lock your fingers and.
Well, there used to be young men that would sign up for home ec class because there would be only one or two young men in with all of the young girls.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because that was the first thing that Manny said. He's like, oh, I see you're looking for a check. And he's like, no. So then he goes, I want to be able to learn about the different seasonings and how they work together. And that's not something that you understand.
Whoa. Oh, someday.
So I almost slapped the taste out of his face. So I just looked at him and I said,
no, you say, please learn that because you're so needed here and we will put you to work as soon as you do.
I said, son, is this what road you want to go down today? And he's like, what? You don't know how they work together. And I was like, okay, you know how you laugh and call me an alcoholic because I can pick out the flavor notes in like a glass of wine? And he's like, yeah. And I said, literally can do the same thing with any plate that you put in front of me that's already seasoned. And I said, and I can tell you why it pairs better. And I can do this. And I said, I'm actually a pretty educated cook for being self-taught and learning all like some of these new, like I had amazing, like my grandparents. Okay. My grandmother hated cooking. Granddaddy taught everybody how to cook. And Granddaddy was a fantastic cook. And Granddaddy did all of like the like farm cooking, right? So sausage gravy and all of it. But I cooked a full Thanksgiving meal for 25 people by myself when I was 18 years old. Like I had to learn how to cook because that was going to be my role, right? So as a good wife, you need to know how to cook. And so that's exactly what I did. But I also have lots of experiences. So I also got to have lots of different exposures to new things. I read cookbooks and Pinterests and all sorts of things. So I know how and why. And I said, and I can help you learn this stuff. So I called him into the kitchen and I said, look, let me just show you a little something that I can do for you here. So I pulled in a seasoning and it was like one of the multi-seasonings or whatever. And I said, pick out all of the scents that are in this. And he sniffs it and he's like, well, I can't pick those out. And I was like, I said, now try it again. And he's like, okay. And then he takes a deep breath and he does it again. And I was like, well, I think I smell garlic. And I think I smell something else. So he like picks out like two. I think he picked out 3 that he smelled. And I said, okay, how do you know that that's what they smelled like? And he's like, well, I don't know. I just kind of guessed. And I said, okay. So then now I opened up now anybody who's ever opened up my pantry, I don't have like 5 or 6 like seasonings. Like I have 25, 30. I mean, I have tons. And I'm over here. Like I was just in there last night and I was like, oh man, we got to pick up more seasonings. There was like 5 or 6 right off the top of my head that were missing. And so then I started showing him how they paired together. And then I started pulling different things and why this goes better with this meat than this. And he's like, hey, you actually know a few things. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, someday I'll have to teach you how to use that for your own benefit instead of.
Well, and I laughed because when I told my mom this story, she goes, well, so now he's been telling us he wants to be a pit master, but he doesn't like to say pit master because that just seems weird. He's like, I don't like the way that sounds. And I'm like,
so what would you call it?
I don't know what you want me to call it. That's basically what it's called, is a pit master. And he's like, it just sounds weird. He said it sounds like you should. Huh?
Charcoal man.
I said, well, needless to say, we had quite a few terms that we could use in place of pit master, none of which were necessary to repeat But when you have two teenage sons, you can imagine what names started coming out. But the one in question was not happy with any of it. He's like, none of that's funny. And we're all in tears around the kitchen table. Anyway, so then fast forward. And he goes, well, that's just what I want to do, but I don't want to compete. Like, I just want to do that. And I'm like, okay, like, if this is what you want to do for a living, like, you have to be the best at it or people won't buy your stuff. He's like, well, why do I have to compete though? And I'm like, because it's healthy. Competition is good. It makes you get better. It makes you hone in your skills more. But I think, you know what I honestly think, and I said this out loud last night and he got mad at me for it. But I think I'm probably more right than, I might know one or two things. I've been around the sun more than he has. But I told Minnie last night, I said, I think the biggest problem is that he got screwed over with his lifelong passion of baseball because it turned political. Not because of me, but because high school sports are just, if you're not in the breed, you're not in the breed, right? And so everything is political.
Yeah.
And so I said, I think that he got screwed over from his lifelong passions, that now he doesn't want to compete because he was always so good at everything. And then it didn't matter because he made a statement. He's like, well, it doesn't matter if my stuff tastes the best, but somebody else has a better grade, then they win. So why should I compete? And I'm like, son, you just have to keep on trying. So I'm really pushing him to get into that competition side because he's so, like, he has passions and he's really good at things, but freaking school politics and people say they don't want to be involved in politics, but if you're breathing, you're involved in politics.
Yeah. Well, I know I never thought, because our son is very mechanical. I mean, mechanic by trade. In fact, a very good one. But he loves to cook, and he comes up with his own stuff, and he still floors me with things that he comes up with. But it's just him. In fact, he and his wife split cooking duties. Now he doesn't bake so much, but he, other cooking, I never would have thought that of him because when he was younger, he never asked to come in the kitchen and cook. He just, when he got out on his own and started cooking himself, he started making up his own rules for cooking.
Yeah, well, that was kind of what I started doing too. And like, I'm the queen of, let me just see what we have. Like, I love to go in.
Throwing it together.
Yeah. And sometimes those are like the best meals ever.
Yeah.
Because you have to be resourceful. You have to figure, I mean, I can plan a full course meal to the nines, like nobody's business. But sometimes my greatest creations are, let me figure this out really quick. While we're figuring out what we want for the next thing to talk about. And
is that a dinosaur?
No.
Okay, she needs to. Oh. I can't tell. Is it an alligator?
It's an alligator. This is her new alligator.
Miss Alligator Queen. Where did she go?
Oh, and this is Arthur's new, and then we dropped it. Hold on. This is Arthur's new turtle.
Oh. Hi,
Charlotte. They got little gifts from Louisiana, didn't you? Yeah.
And hi, Charlotte.
Oh yeah, she was upset. They both made the statement that it was unfortunate. They didn't say it exactly like this, but in little kid talk, they said it was quite unfortunate that the turtle doesn't go back into its shell. So what they do is they take all of its things and fold it down like that.
Get some rubber bands and he'll stay like that for a while.
Oh man. Whew.
Okay, I hate to tell you.
We're going to take a commercial break.
And I probably will be gone when you come back and tell Ashley, I knew she wouldn't be here. I knew it. She doesn't want to show up on the same program as me.
Oh man, called out. Ash
Challenge.
Burke called out. Guys, we're gonna take them. If Miss Patty's gonna leave me, I need to take an extended commercial break.
I'll take
I can pull,
some vitamins.
so I can pull this crap shoot together and come back with a cohesive thought for you guys.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye, y'all.
Dennis. Love you guys. We'll see you later. All right, for the rest of you guys, I'll be right back. I'm gonna do the extended. I'll do the big commercial break though, so we'll be right back, you guys. We are back. When I say we, I meant me and Charlotte's new little alligator. We are back with a huge thank you to our amazing sponsors. Don't forget about the Montgomery County Tea Party, the first and the third Monday of every month, be at Citizens Grill in Conroe, Texas. Meeting starts at 6:30, so get there a little bit early because it starts right at 6:30, right, Charlotte? So you definitely want to make sure that you're a part of that. And I need to show you guys, there's another event, and I believe I saw that the Tea Party was hosting it. MCT. Okay, I don't know who's hosting it, but it's being hosted. The Montgomery County Republican Party. So this is separate from the Tea Party, but it's equally as important because our very own Walter West is going to be speaking at it. And it's coming up this week. Let me show it to you really quick, guys. This is going to be on, well, just kidding here. This is going to be a town hall event focused on public safety, the colonias, and other law enforcement issues. And as you guys know, our beloved Bacon Master is an absolute expert on this. And Austin's Pikachu is as an expert on this. So make sure that you are there. We're going to be live streaming this. So be part of the journey. I don't know if we're going to have Texas Fully Loaded YouTube back, but we do have Bacon Nation YouTube, and we're streaming on there now. So don't feel like if you can't find us on Texas Fully Loaded YouTube, we still have YouTube. It's Bacon's YouTube, because we're one big happy Texas Fully Loaded of Bacon family. See what I did there? That was fun. Okay. And then the Vietnam veterans, y'all are so welcome. The Vietnam Veterans of America, we truly appreciate your service and sacrifice. And most importantly, welcome home. You continue to serve your communities. So America, get involved with them. Vietnam Veterans of America, VVA.org. Find a local branch, or local chapter, get involved with them, bring them a plate of cookies, donate something, buy a raffle ticket. The Baytown branch is going to be doing the statewide convention at the end of October. It's going to be up in Baytown, I believe at the Hyatt. As soon as I have a flyer and more details, you guys will have that information. But most importantly, whenever you see somebody in one of those Vietnam caps, shake their hand and tell them welcome home. It means so much to them. If you're sick and tired of shopping online and getting crap products from China, go to mammothnation.com/# We the People Work. It's running on the ticker down here. You can also find it at texasfullyloaded.com. Make sure that you use that # We the People Work. And Charlotte has new headphones. That make sure you use that # We the People Work so that you can get a discount. You support Texas Fully Loaded when you do that, and then you also get to get American and veteran-owned products and resources that sometimes is discounts on hotels. It could be your new vitamin regimen is waiting for you, a new Patriot line of cigars. You just never know what you're going to find on there. So make sure that's your first stop for online shopping. Also go to TexasFullyLoaded.com, click on the TFL shop, and you can get some Texas Fully Loaded merchandise. Be part of the family, y'all. We need you. We need you. Okay, Simon, I promised I would come back to the rodent conversation because you sent us a video. And I always keep my promises to Simon. All right, here we go. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? Is that hamster fixing to get flung? Charlotte, come see this.
Because The Rock is watching.
I've been waiting, think I'm gonna make a move now. Baby, tell me if you like it. Tell me if you like it now.
Tell me if you like it.
Think I'm gonna make a move now.
These are hamsters.
Baby, tell me how you like it.
Charlotte does not approve of your hamster video, Simon.
I know what to do if only you were happy.
I don't know what just happened here. It was definitely a hamster rave. Now, I can honestly say I had never been included in a hamster rave before. So now I'm not sure if I've been missing out on life or where we're going next with that one, but all right. So we did kind of, at the beginning of the show, we kind of made a statement, and it was kind of in jest about the fires that are going on. And Miss Patty made the statement, hey, don't jinx us with fires because it's way too dry around here right now. We need to be paying attention to what's really happening in Hawaii. I know that there is tons of just question marks about everything that's going on out there. Very questionable about land that Oprah Winfrey had been trying to buy, and all of a sudden people weren't selling it. Now it's on fire. I was told, and I haven't seen it. I was told that there was a basketball player, I believe, a young basketball player that wrote on his forehead for a game, investigate Hawaii. I think that this is it's kind of telling. We see so many things that we can't explain, and I think we always want to try and find an answer, and so we're really quick to draw conclusions or whatever. Knowing a lot of people in firefighting world, of course we have Walter, but then we also have, I've known other firefighters before and people who've been involved in land management. Forest fires can start like that, right? That's what Smokey Bear, why he became what he was and what he is, right? Only you can prevent forest fires. We've all driven down the side of 35, 59, 95, 64, fill in your favorite interstate, and seen black patches on the side of the road. And sometimes they're just little controlled ones, and sometimes they're way out of control. And it's from a flick of a cigarette. These things happen, and we want, as humans, we want to have a tangible answer. And I'm not saying that there's not foul play. I'm not saying that there was not foul play in Hawaii. There probably absolutely is, because you can't explain it. And for Biden, more importantly, to be so grotesque and saying he doesn't have a comment on Hawaii, just to spin it right back around, and now all of a sudden he's going to go visit Hawaii after the death toll just keeps on rising. I think that that's pretty significant. Number one, it's significant in a couple of ways. Number one, that the commander-in-chief is so all about himself that he doesn't care. As he's leaving his beach in Delaware, he says, I don't have a comment. No comment. Not, we're praying for the people of Hawaii. I mean, if he, I tell people all the time, say something, right? No comment is the worst thing that you could say, because it's just awful. It's awful. That, especially with Biden, that just shows there's something manipulative that's happening there. And I saw something, and I don't want to eat up too much time because we have a guest waiting in the wings. But I saw something on Facebook, and it was truly the perfect sentiment. And I think that this is something that our guest is going to be able to kind of help play around with a little bit, or kick the can a little bit with us on, because it's something that we all understand. We get it. And I saw this a couple of times, but I knew how to find my mom's the fastest. So y'all, you're welcome, America. Here you go. Here we are. If you got the most votes in American history, you don't have to go after your political opponents. But if you cheated and stole the election, you pretty much have to. Now, I saw another one that was in conjunction with this. It was on somebody else's page, and it was talking specifically about, it had that post, and then underneath of it, somebody had a write-up of all of the things that were just awry. And I'm going to bring Stephanie Holderfield on. Hey,
hello.
And one of the things that we saw. Oh, we got a really bad echo there. Hold on. Let's try this. No, do you have headphones by any chance?
I do. Let me grab the set, the right set, and I can do that.
Well, Stephanie's doing that. This is kind of funny. Simon just put, people reflect his attitude. I've not seen any donations or fundraisers for Maui. Usually during a disaster, everyone tried to come together, and that's always been the thing. And that's not the thing now. What happened in Austin with the homeless encampment catching on fire there? Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's batting an eyelash about it. People are seeing these things happening over and over and over again in this country. And here's a promise to you: Americans have not lost their generosity or their good nature or their caring heart. Not one of them. I promise you. People have not forgotten who they are. They've not forgotten. Let me see here. Let's try that again. Oh. Hello.
Is that working?
No, it's not. It's not connected yet. Wait. Now we got it. Nope, you got it now. Nope, you got it now.
Good.
Nope, just kidding.
Nope.
I mean, I don't mind hearing my voice, but I'm sure everybody else will hear it twice.
Let me try another set here.
But one of the issues that we're seeing, and I'm gonna mute you again, so give me a thumbs up when you get it switched. One of the issues that we do see is that people are sick and tired of pouring their money into places and the money not going to where it needs to go. They're sick and tired of finding out that they've been giving to the Red Cross and for an example, and most of the money go to overhead. They're sick and tired of seeing their generosity efforts. Welcome to Texas Blue. But people they want to be able to give directly to fill in the blank. A lot of these orgs are taking advantage of people, and Stephanie's is not one, the one that she's on here to talk about. But there's so many, we call them grifter groups, but if you really look backwards, there's been so many of them that say that they're trying to do charity work to help with homelessness or to help with, first aid or first responses and things along those lines. And people are feeling tapped out. It does exist, but I think people want to know, we're watching this group that is with them. I believe that I don't want to drop names without having the people without getting the thumbs up for being able to do it. But there is a specific group that has been down in Hidalgo County this last week or two that I know for a fact has just been full of fluff. They're stealing other people's work. They're cropping out their water images on stuff, and then they're asking these people to help them. They need their resources. They need their guide. They need them as a guide, but then they're not even reimbursing a meal or covering a meal. They're not helping with gas, and then they're raising hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars. Last I saw, they had raised over $50,000 off of somebody else's work, and they're not even covering a meal. They're not even helping them with anything. And that causes people in being the hands and feet group that we are, you see this happening and you're like, how in the world are they raising money? They sound ridiculous when they're speaking. It's clear that they're making up their own narrative on stuff, or they're trying to regurgitate everything that they heard with somebody else's work. And nope, we're still there. and they're not even giving credit. Like when we have other people's work, we make sure that we give them credit. We make sure that we do whatever we can to show them appreciation. Even if we don't have anything, we don't have anything to give, but we still make sure that they get the credit. Like if you can't give anything, if you cannot physically give anything else, spare a meal, if you cannot physically give them dollars or a hotel room or something along those lines, you can at least say, hey, because of this person right here, we can X, Y, and Z. Because of this person right here is telling us what's going on, yada, yada, yada. But to sit there and just change their name and steal their work, that's dirty business. That is dirty business. You're only out there for yourself. Let's see. It's still going. Oh no.
Do you want me to try and dial back in?
Yeah, let's try and do that. Okay. But we have to make sure that we're you have to vet out who you're giving to, because when you see these, they're virtue signaling, they're grifters. They're not really doing the right things for the right reasons. They're only trying to make money. That's it. That's all they want to do. They find good people. They suck them in to get their money, to get their resources, to get their talents. They profit off of it, and then they turn their back on them, or they do whatever they want to. And it's disgusting. I can promise you that not one person who is doing the right thing for the right reason is trying to become a millionaire off of it. I know we aren't. My goal is not to become a millionaire. My goal is to be able to literally put gas in my car, be able to feed myself and my crew, and to pay for a hotel if we need it. To be able to advertise, to be able to do the digital work that needs to be done. to be able to make sure that if my kid needs $20 in his gas tank, I can send him $20. Like that's what our goal is here on Texas Fully Loaded. That is what our goal is in general with the people that we have surrounded ourselves with. All right, let's try for a round 2. Hello.
How's that one?
Oh, perfect. La, 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 la. Okay, yep, nope. Yeah. Technology is not always our friend on Texas Fully Loaded, Stephanie.
I understand.
I don't want to jinx us, but usually we have an FBI agent that loves to cut my signal at the best moments.
Telling ya, they're watching us.
They absolutely are watching us. Well,
Yeah.
Stephanie, I was starting to say, because one of the things that you and I, so Stephanie and I met several years ago working on campaigns. We met when I was working on my campaign. You were helping Dr. Spires with his campaign, John Spires with his campaign for land commissioner. And then you worked with Dana Myers on her campaign for state party vice chairwoman. And so we've always gotten to kind of rub shoulders and work together in the trenches for the betterment of the state. And I really think that you do a fantastic job. Now you're with a group called CDF.
Yes.
Yes, it used to be CCDF, and now it's just CDF. And one of the things that their mission originally was to find where things are going wrong and kind of expose without exploiting to make sure that the right things happen. And of course, the very first thing on out of everyone's mouth was election integrity. And to make sure, and that's something that we're all passionate about. And so when I saw that meme this morning or yesterday that I shared right as you were coming on about, if you are the most voted for president in the history of the country, why are you going after your political opponents?
So I tell you what, so I have to have a disclaimer here. Of course, I worked for the boss, the big guy. I worked for Donald Trump, and I was in his administration. I was his Illinois state director, and prior to that, Dr. Ben Carson. And we worked, the 2016 campaign team was pretty incredible. We were lean and mean. And of course, that election, people didn't think that he was going to win. And he was actually rather surprised, as were all of the rest of us, yet confident that he was going to win, because we were at a time in our country where everyone said, we've got to turn this big ship around. We're headed in the wrong direction. And unfortunately, the hope that we all had with the Obama administration, and many people had, such great high hopes that we'd really meld together as a nation, really amalgamate, because truly Americans love each other. They really do. They might have their differences, but it was a time of hope, and that was part of his campaign. But what we found and experienced was we were heading to the pits of hell. Our policies, regulations, the influence over our statutes, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And so the demand for a businessman to come in and be the president to right the ship, because when you look at this country, if you run it like a business, you basically cut the fat, right? You cut back on things that are not necessary. And a lot of times what I hear and I get really frustrated over is that, Trump never trimmed the budget. Well, he did. But you have to understand how appropriations work, how Congress works, how the agencies work. Right. And so anyway, I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole. But here,
no, you're good.
Here we are with a election that everyone has felt. I didn't get to really be counted as an American. The most precious voice that we have is at the ballot box. And we want, as Americans, as Texans, as, whatever state we live in, what we are passionate about is being heard. Because based on our constitutional rights, we are runners, so to speak, authors, cohorts in running this country. It isn't that, we vote for a president and then we say, okay, well, you do it on your own. That's not how our founding fathers, and today that word is almost a dirty word, which is shameful that we've come to that today. And what has been espoused about the founding fathers, the passion that they exhibited, the rights that they gave the states. And remember, those rights that were given to the federal government was temporary authority to protect the citizenry of this country. And so, the states really were like their own fiefdom, so to speak, and in dedicating that trust and entrusting into the federal government to provide the necessary tools for us to be able to better govern, but most importantly, to create a secure nation. And it's just a nation gone wild. So here we are today, and still people are concerned over what happened in 2020. Look, regardless how you feel about it, Obama was charismatic, and he was perhaps one of the most highly rated as far as his ability to convey information, JFK-ish. He was beloved. And then we have, what we have today in a president, and what a disappointment. And just to kind of go back in my history a little bit, and I'm not accusing anything, and I'm not suggesting, but in some senses, perhaps I am. I worked in an assisted living and facility, and I specialized in dementia and Alzheimer's. So I gave, Mr. Biden a grade of about a stage 4 with some type of dementia. And only because I worked in that field and understand, the neurotransmitters and synapses and how your brain works. And, some of the things that are, you're seeing with this speech capabilities of our president. He's word searching, his gait, there's a lot of things going on. So here, this is what we have for a president, and we had Obama that people loved. We have Trump that was nothing but problematic from the day that he mentioned he was going to run. We had 2017 for his inauguration, and it was chaos. It was, no one ever talks about that. The streets were filled with chaos, riots, Molotov cocktails, a sea of pink hats, threats. And then we have a president today that is claimed to have earned more votes than any president in the history of our country. So I finally got it spit out. Unbelievable? Yes, it's unbelievable. So sure, American people are pretty upset about what's going on, and then the climate that we continue to be in. So just full disclosure, however, who I work for now is a nonpartisan organization that believes in the right as a grassroots organization, that every American has a right, that every Texan has a right, and election integrity is on the lips of every single person. And how are we going to fix it?
Well, and I think this is fun, and we haven't, you and I haven't gotten to have this conversation. I think that Walter kind of talked to maybe talked to John, but I think it may have been both John and Dana, but that we were with hold on one second.
What's up?
Sorry, we have a whole situation going on over here. We have a puppy nursery going on as well as regular life, so I apologize. Anyway, we got to spend some time with a senator in state senator in New Mexico this last week, and his number one gig is election integrity. And some of the stuff that we knew about him was because of some of the work that Dana had talked about that they were doing there in New Mexico. And so it was kind of fun to sit and talk to, and we've talked on this show, and we've watched, there's a movie called Atticus versus the Architect. And it talks about what happened in Mississippi, Alabama. The governor there literally got 2020 before 2020 was a thing. It was back in, or before 2010 even. And so it was almost like it was a dry run for what they were going to do in 2020. They need to see how they could control the situation. They need to see how far they were willing to take it. And I truly think that I think that if people need to go back and watch this movie. It's a documentary movie. It's on Amazon for like 99 cents, I think is how much it was when we watched it like 2 months ago. And it kind of gives you the blueprint all the way to even see what to expect to happen to President Trump. I think it is going to end up in jail. I think they're going to do exactly to him what they did to the governor. Mississippi. Simon, which one was it? He's our note taker for the show. I think it was Mississippi. So and then he comes back vindicated, but all of the damage had been done. He and his staff had already gone to jail. All of this stuff happened, and it was on a technicality, and it was something that every single other person was doing. And it had nothing to do with the elections, but that's exactly what they tried to bring it back to. And the cheating and the aspects and everything, it was actually the Republicans that designed the cheating on that side. And so, when you see it, it's not just Republicans that are being unfairly done to. It's also being done to the Democrats. And it's a fair value. Republicans are seeing it, Democrats are seeing it, independents are seeing it, and then everybody else who won't identify or won't even vote anymore because they're like, yeah, it's in black and white that this is happening. If my vote is my voice, I'm not going to waste my voice.
Right, exactly. And that is, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, but America is losing because people just don't have faith that their voice is worth something anymore.
Right. It's and I even have a brother. Oh my God, my brother won't go vote. And I got a sister. Yeah, I keep encouraging him. I said, eventually someday it's gonna count. So don't stop voting, and don't stop voting. Show up. Go ahead.
I have 2 sisters, and in the other room, Charlie goes, "You don't have a sister."
Another sister.
I have 2 sisters. Go mind your.
What
yes. So and isn't that the state of where we are? People don't have confidence that their voice isn't heard. And so, I think we have to get back to those basic fundamentals of what our country is. And I really think, again, I haven't even mentioned this yet, but the church is so important. And I think, and I want to go back to the 2016 election, and I did bring it up for a reason. People overwhelmed the voting system. And so perhaps there has been a better way to, retool that. But I think we also have to come up with a way to retool what has been retooled. And so we're looking at, so many different avenues of how do we fix this? So one of the things that we've been looking at, and we held a hand count roadshow to go over what that process could potentially look like. Do we think that we'll be able to get, an actual hand count where people go into that process? I don't know, but I think we have to look at all potential processes. In the state of Texas, of course, we fought all organizations, grassroots organizations, really pulled together and unified in removing Eric. That reporting system was absolutely violated the law, number one. And so who should have the data of a 16-year-old when they go to register, to get their driver's license? Nobody needs my 16-year-old's contact information, who they are, and all of their pertinent data. That's PII. That, again, is a violation of the law in Texas. So I think it's just continuing in that, same mode of apparatus to continue to unify grassroots organizations, because frankly, the Democrat Party is failing, the Republican Party is failing, and people are really tired. That's why the independents are growing so dramatically, because no one wants this label, behind their name. What we are is, again, it's not a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. This is an American issue. and the rights of Americans are being trespassed on. And what we're seeing, what you were just talking about in Maui, there are no words to describe the devastation that, it's just seeing this and feeling helpless and not knowing what to do. Lots of reports are coming out of what is suspected. I don't know, but what I do know is we have Americans that are suffering, and we need to find a way to better serve them, to fix what's been broken. Their homes are lost. This is, Samaritan's Purse is, I'm not pushing an organization, but, I really personally looked for an organization that I knew the money was actually going to go and the help was going to go to these, these distraught people. I mean, their lives are devastated. There are many, many children that were lost in this fire. So back to...
No, and you slipped out Samaritan's Purse. That's one that I can personally vouch for. Also, I used to work for Billy Graham Evangelical Association, and of course, that's Samaritan's Purse is their outreach for aid and things like that. And so it's an organization that I've personally been involved in. I've seen where the dollars go. I know how the help is actually being done, and so that's when I don't mind saying, hey, please support Samaritan's Purse in this, because they are deploying the front line. I have personal friends that are on their ready response team to go to where a natural disaster has just occurred, or fill in the blank. And so they don't have to pay for it out of their pocket, because Samaritan's Purse covers everything. They make sure that they're all the bases are covered, the immediate physical needs, first aid, food. They set up washing machine areas so that people can get clean and can, shower areas. And they of course, naturally they go to they take care of their spiritual needs as well. So Samaritan's Purse is a great organization. If you're looking for one to replace what Red Cross is supposed to be, right, that would absolutely, I said that, not Stephanie, so that she doesn't get in trouble for any of the organizations that she works with, because I know how those 501c3s can start working, or 501s, period. So just a disclaimer, that was from Sandra, not Stephanie, but very much echoed. So I want to talk a little bit. You brought up Eric for just a second, and we've not had a true Eric expert on the show just yet. So we've done our best to kind of convey some information, but if you could just kind of, if you have to, do you have time? I could literally have you this whole entire hour, because you've got so much information and so much knowledge. How much time can I have you for?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so can you give us a quick 10-second overview, if you will, of what exactly Eric is, why it was so important that we broke up with him and got out of that toxic relationship?
Absolutely. They weren't cleaning the voter rolls. What they were doing is using the Postal Service to re-implement those individuals back in. Example, if there is a group of individuals that they were finding multiple voters were registered for one address, and actually doing a Google Earth to go look at that property, perhaps it was vacant land, but yet they were registered voters at that particular property. So what each county does is they're responsible for cleaning those rolls, but they have rules and regulations in many of those counties, how many they'll clean, per cycle. And unfortunately, Eric, through the Postal Service, was adding people back in. And so there were no controls over removing those false information back into the voter rolls. So really, it was just people being added in perpetuity. And so no county really had an independent approach, or no party had a reliable recourse to remove individuals that were proven to be false. As well as, again, as I stated, when you would go to the DMV, register new residents in a community, they would take your personally identifiable information to a third party, and no one knew where that information was going, right? Mm-hmm. And so some foreign country could have your personal identification. What were they doing with that information? So the priority, and several other states were removing ERIC because of those difficulties and issues. Each party should have the ability to, when they find that there's inaccurate information, they should be able to remove voters that are not registered in that particular party. So that's pretty much what we did. And the interesting thing was that legislation almost didn't make it out of committee. Actually, it was shut down several times. And so there were a lot of groups that were tracking what was going on, and there were demands that this particular legislation come out of committee and go to a floor vote. And they were tracking all of the legislators and how they were voting to remove it. I think there was just so much heat applied. And I think our legislators understood that this is detrimental to have this kind of a software product that is not functioning the way that it was promised. So it was really sort of like I'm not an attorney, but perhaps it was a breach, I don't know, of what the responsibility was. But I do want to make sure that it's clear that there is a statute in the state of Texas that no PII is given to a third party, period.
Well, and I think that ERIC kind of brought that to light, I think, for a lot of people. And one of the things that, and everybody notices, right? When you change your address on your, you change your address, so you've got to fix it in your driver's license, you open up a new business, all of a sudden, all of you start getting new insurance quotes, you start getting, all of these things. You're like, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for any of that. Like, I just thought I changed the only thing I physically have changed is my driver's license so far. Like, what the heck? Where's the stuff coming from? The state actually just sells your information to the highest bidder every single chance that they get. And because they make money off of it.
Yes.
They make money off of it. In fact, even within our political system, the RPT even sells off your information to an extent as a registered voter. And as candidates, they then have to try and buy that information back through like the different app systems and whatever to go door knocking and all of the things that you need to do. So your information that you freely gave so that you could register to vote, so that you could become get your driver's license, so that you could open a business, your information that you freely gave, now somebody else's, the state specifically, is marketing off of, not necessarily one particular political party. The state is marketing off of it.
Right. So no one, well, look, I was a candidate. I was an elected official. I served in a county position in the state of Illinois, and getting that data and information is extraordinarily important. I've worked as in the campaign arena, and being able to obtain it, but you don't get it for free. And so, it is a marketing tool for the each of the parties to be able to raise dollars, understandably. But tracking who you're selling it to, and being accountable to the people that are providing that information, that's the component that's missing. I register. I want to know where my information is going. And it is my personal information. It's your personal information. Yep. And there should be protections in place, which in the state of Texas there are, but they weren't following those protections. So,
well, and I haven't had a chance to tell you, when Alexander turned 18, of course, we had to switch his driver's license from the minor to the adult one. But you have the option to do it online. So I said, sure, that's not a problem. Let's do it that way. Saves me a trip and all that kind of stuff. But then there was a little box on there that says, would you like to update your voter registration information? Mm-hmm. Now, yes. Me just being me and knowing what I know, I giggled to myself. And I know for a fact that the boy who just turned 18 is never registered to vote. Let's see what happens. His new voter registration card showed up in the mail before his driver's license did. And I said, isn't that something? We don't have online voter registration in the state of Texas.
Yeah, well.
So it's just because, and I say that because I'm like, we realize that none of these systems interface with each other. So they're even the ones that are supposed to interface with each other, i.e. the driver's license system and this voter registration system, you know, they're not even working the way together in the way that they're supposed to. It should have kicked back, and he should have gotten a letter saying, you're not registered to vote. Here's how you do it. You know what I mean? And that system's not in place, because as much as we want to try and rely on technology, but this is also more proof that you can't rely on technology with something so valuable as, number one, your information, but number two, your vote. And this is where people get frustrated. Simon made a comment just a little bit ago. He said in Lytle, an election for an alderman was overturned because of literally 2 votes.
Yes.
And you know, we see that kind of stuff happen. We saw it happen in the Tony Gonzalez Raul Reyes race. They had to do a recount because there were 7 votes. It was a 7-vote difference. And even then, when they did do the recount, it was 30 votes out of all and I think they finally stopped. I don't think they did all of the counties that were in the district. They finally were starting to run out of money, and we're just like, I don't know what we're going to do. They lost some votes in some counties. They gained them back in other counties. And, you know, it was this round robin effect. And so now you see it. You see this happening on a bigger scale and a bigger scale. And this is why it's important to have trained individuals where they need to be. And it's not like you have to devote your entire life to voter integrity to show up to be a poll watcher or a poll counter or anything along those lines. And CDF, that's something that you guys encourage and try to get people out of their comfort zone a little bit to also do. So let's kind of shift the topic a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about what CDF does.
So CDF stands for Citizens Defending Freedom, and that's exactly what we do. It's a nonpartisan organization that supports individual rights within the community that you live in. And so what we really focus on, our efforts are at the local level. And that's why it started out with County Citizens Defending Freedom, and then we transitioned to Citizens Defending Freedom. And so what we understand is that the real fight is at the local level. There's so much focus on the presidential elections, and understandably so. But where all of those, so at the federal level comes the statutes and the policies and the regulations, and then it shifts over to the states, and then it filters down to the county level. So, one of the things that local officials can do is push back. And one of our most important and highest constitutional office is at the sheriff's office. So when the federal government wants to come in, they contact the sheriff. So if DEA wants to come in and do an investigation, they have to knock on the door of the sheriff and ask for permission. Wow, right? So people may know that, but they don't realize the importance of our local elected officials, our school boards, our MUDs, our ESDs, our commissioner's office, often, or library boards. Often people are so busy in raising their families and doing their what they enjoy doing. They're not looking at what's happening at the local level, because the media has us focused on the national level. So what's important about the local level, you have a lot of authority as a county official. And with that authority, you can push back on overreaching policies that are coming out of Washington, D.C., even the state. So, is that a shock and a surprise? If, say, we'll go to the mask mandates. If the county judge, the commissioner out of the commissioner's court, or the commissioner's court would say, not in our county, we're not going to enforce this. That's a pushback. When, there are schools that are closing, not in our county, we're not going to do this. And they have the ability to push back on those recommendations, right? And so having individuals that understand the authority of that office that they're serving in at the local level is what is important. And that's what we do. We educate people on the importance of holding your county officials accountable, but understanding what rights that you have as a citizenry to push back on these overreaching policies and regulations.
I think that one of the things that we discovered, and I think that COVID-19 at least did this, it allowed people to realize that they have no idea how government worked, right? They
Yes.
didn't realize it's the original pyramid scheme. It's from the bottom up, not from the top down.
Correct.
And we've unfortunately, society flipped that pyramid a long time ago, and we thought that everything has to happen from the presidency. And then, oh, well, if he said it, then that means it goes up. No, that's not the way that it works. And it's been fun working with sheriffs as much as we have. And we like to kind of pick on Brad Coe a little bit because he's a dear friend of I think everybody's.
Yes.
But when the very first time we ever sat in his office, Walter had made a suggestion to him, and he just looked at him like he had lost his mind. And he's like, I'm going to have to do some research on that. And then now he's like the gunslinging, like, I don't take no crap from nobody kind of sheriff. And it's important. And I say that in love and jest because he's really a fantastic sheriff. But, I think that what happens is that people, especially when people are placed into office, if you will, instead of, they're like, hey, don't worry about it. So-and-so said that you're going to get elected, so you're going to get elected. And that happens on the school board level, just like it does on the presidential level, just so that everybody knows. People just do what they're kind of told, and then it gets left at that. And instead, they don't really know what office they hold and what responsibilities and what, I dare say, they use power, but what power their office really does possess. For example, the sheriff really is the highest level in the land. They can override the county judge. They can actually do a lot more than people give them credit for. And aside from school boards, I would even say that a sheriff's position is never truly scrutinized in the public domain in terms of a campaign like it should be.
Yes, I agree 100%. So I'd like to come back to that, but do you mind if I just go a little bit, move a little forward with exactly what our focus is? But I do want to talk about sheriffs because I have a really incredible event that we're hosting in the Houston area. Thank you. So basically what our focus is, what I'm not just a mother, I'm a grandmother. And so, my set of grandchildren, I've got a senior in high school, unbelievably so. Today was the first day of school. So I'm pretty excited for that. Just makes me cry. Anyway, so, but I also have a college student grandchild. And then the last one's a second grader. So protecting our children. What is the most important, precious thing that we have? It's our treasure. God said, this is your treasure. And where you put your treasures is where your reward's going to be. And so it's protecting those sweet little minds and helping them grow in an environment where they have creativity, but yet not too much information so that they don't go into areas that are dangerous. We know that there are danger areas, and these dirty books have been a fight that we've been working on. HB 900, we've fought for that, which is to remove the dirty books from schools. So protecting our children, that's one of the things that we very much focus on, working with school board members, working with parents and concerned citizens, election integrity. So we're looking at a lot of different avenues of approach, but also fighting. We are fighting, at a legislative level, but we're also fighting at the local level, and how, those those rules and policies are implemented. What's the better route to go? And then it just uncovering corruption. Corruption is everywhere, and it is really thick at the local level. If people had any idea, if they knew what was going on, because the system has been so corrupted for so long, again, because, you ask a sheriff, do you know what authority that you have? And most times they'll say, well, I get my marching orders from the mayor. No. Mayor actually gets the marching orders from you, sheriff. And so freedom, it's not free. My family, actually, my personally goes all the way back to the Mayflower, one of the original signers of the Mayflower Compact.
No kidding. We're going to have to compare notes later. I'll bring my book up this week.
Awesome. And actually, Susan B. Anthony is in my lineage. Wow. Abraham Lincoln is in my lineage, and Benjamin Franklin. So
that's fantastic.
And then all of these revolutionary war heroes, pastors, again, it's freedom is not free, and celebrating the fact that those that fought, their blood still on our fields all across the United States, from all of the wars that were fought, the Alamo, winning Texas, incorporating it into the United States. But a lot of the lessons learned from the Republic of Texas, I think, is really interesting. And whenever you go someplace, people are always waiting for Texas to show up, and so Texas is extremely important. But our focus is empowering the American citizen to save our nation. And that's not without cost. And that's important to understand. This is a citizen-led organization. This isn't Citizens Defending Freedom going in and fighting, right? This is Citizens Defending Freedom fighting alongside with you. We do have a media outlet. The media, MSN, is just, it's a false narrative. So we have our own media, but we also have an amazing lead attorney in the state of Texas, and he's now actually over all 3 states where we're at, Jonathan Houlihan. So we're really excited to have him, yes, as our general counsel, helping us fight the good fight. And also, it is a true honor. It's a privilege to be an American. And, regardless of, okay, this person was this and that person was that, you know what? My mother's family fled Italy. And why did they flee Italy? Because of socialism. And why did my family flee, Europe and Ireland and England and Scotland? They came to be able to form a better way of life and freedoms. And so, and they base, of course, everyone forgets about that important document, the Mayflower Compact. The founding fathers relied so heavily on their founders, which was the Mayflower Compact. That's who we are as Americans, and the sovereignty that we have, land ownership. When you think about all of those abilities that we have as Americans, don't be angry. Don't be angry or upset to fly with pride the American flag. And that's who we are as citizens defending freedom, all freedoms that are afforded to us because of the sacrifices that are made. But again, taking it down to that micro level of the county and where our freedoms are really provided, right? And so it's just really getting a better understanding of our Constitution. Of course, we teach biblical citizenship class. It is not a Bible study, but 34% of Scripture is interweaved into the Constitution. So it's important to understand that document is not some old law. 4 corners of that Constitution promises us as Americans the freedom. And so, but that's at every level. And most importantly, it is at our county level. And so that's where we feel our fight is. And if someone has an issue and they bring it to our awareness, we will be there to support them as best as we can, utilizing the tools that we have in Citizens Defending Freedom. And I'm the Harris County Executive Director, and it is an honor and a pleasure to be in Harris County. There are many wonderful people on both sides of the aisle that, we feel is important to hear their concerns and push that narrative of the importance of the freedoms that we all hold dear as citizens in this community.
No, and y'all really have been doing some amazing work. I was at one of y'all's, I won't say it was the very first event, but it was one of the firster ones anyway, up there in Harris County and everything. And just to see the turnout of people that wanted to be involved from all different walks of life, and to see that this was going to be something that was a little bit different. It wasn't the same beaten path. It's kind of went off into the right weeds for the right reasons, and I think that people are realizing, hey, this is something that we can actually see a difference is going to be being made, and you guys are truly making a big difference in the world around you, and allowing citizens to realize how their government is supposed to work and move forward. I know I've told you this before, but when I ran the first and the second time, but especially the first time, I felt like most of the time I was just teaching simple civics. People would come up to me, oh, well, this is happening with this. And I'm like, well, I can support this on a federal level, but this is actually something that your city council needs to deal with, or actually this is a commissioner's issue, or this is a state rep issue, or, something along those lines, because the biggest problem is that people don't know.
Right.
And it's not because and it's not even because they're uneducated. It's because they just see elected official. Oh, they can do something.
Yes.
They can do something. They can help.
Right.
Yes, but everyone has a lane. And the problem is that people don't necessarily stay in their lanes, or they don't know what their lane is. And I think that's even a bigger problem that most folks don't realize. And I'm not a huge Ted Cruz fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I defended him staunchly over the big freeze that we had 2 years ago. Because he went to Cancun or whatever with his family, and people were just crucifying him. And I was like, wait a second, this is a state issue. What do you want him to do? Make some phone calls? He can do that. He can do that anywhere.
Right.
But it's not his problem. This is the state's problem. We have a state funded, our power grid here in the state of Texas is Texas's problem. We're trying to keep the federal government off of our power grid. And so when people realize where government is supposed to lie, I think there's less frustration, and then people can actually get problems solved. I think people think that it just gets thrown up in the air like a handful of flour, and wherever it lies, that's whose problem it is.
Absolutely. It's amazing that, again, because of mainstream media, we have access on that federal level. But issues that are plaguing us truly, even the power issue was at a local level. There are local controls that, were extraordinarily important, that the mayors and the commissioner's court and the judge should have been in contact, or better contact, and pushing back. But the people, I don't see very many people showing up in commissioner's court. So a lot of these funding streams are happening. Billions of dollars are being spent. Bonds are being created. And folks understand that a bond is a new tax. So when Commissioner's Court in Harris County wants $2.5 billion a bond to go to healthcare, we should have people showing up in droves asking questions. Why? Right? It's the why question, and they have to really be able to answer those questions as to why we need a new taxation when people are being taxed to death in Harris County specifically. Well, across all of Texas, but across the nation. But your local dollars are your dollars. It's just like with the Robin Hood Act. Most people do not realize, and the Robin Hood Act is your property taxes that are supposed to go to your school district has been usurped through the Robin Hood Act. And so your tax dollars aren't going directly to your local school district. A lot of people make decisions on where they're moving based on the school district, the funding, the overall scores. Well, that's not a true picture of what's actually happening, because it's at a state level that those dollars are being disseminated. So, realistically, I think that needs to be fixed, but that's my personal opinion. I'm not in favor of that. And there's probably controversy over that. Maybe you don't fully understand, but there are a lot of other people that are really searching for, the funding at our local schools in areas that should not have a funding issue stream.
No, and you're right. And the number of times that I have gone into a commissioner's court, whether it was here, actually, I don't know that I've walked into the commissioner's court here, but a handful of times at that. But in other counties, or I've gone to the city council meetings, the number of people who don't know, number one, when they don't know why they should go. And then you see other people, and I've certainly watched them online if I can't physically be there in person. And I won't lie to you and tell you that I watch every one, but I definitely try and at least know what's going on, because we can't fight something that we don't know. Right. And then what happens, like you were saying with these school bonds and things, or bonds, period, it doesn't matter if it's a school bond or not, is we end up paying that bill eventually. And they'll go so far as to tell you, and if you go to the school meetings at the beginning of the year, they have to do these Title I meetings and all that kind of stuff. And that's where they propose school bonds. And since it's the beginning of the school year, parents pay attention, because it's not just parents, people pay attention, go to these things. What they do is they have important information that they need to share. So they dress up the kids and they put them on stage to do their little thing, so that they can say, oh, well, we told how many people were in the room? 600 parents. It's not my fault they weren't paying attention.
Right.
But this is where you find out this. And I'll never forget this. When we first moved here and Alex was in school for the first time, we go to our very first school meeting, and it was a Title I meeting. I didn't know what that meant then. And it wasn't until years later that I understood what that meant. And they said, hey, we need to build a new school. And the beautiful thing is that you guys are going to vote on this right now, and you're not going to see anything, any tax increases for at least 10 years. And then it'll be very minimal. It'll be a very minimal tax increase, so it's kind of like a rent to own project, but you don't have to pay anything right now. And oh, well, if I don't have to pay anything right now, sure, do whatever you want to do. And that's what every single person does, instead of going, wait a second, but we are going to have to pay for that. Or if we don't have to pay for it, then somebody else is going to have to pay for that, because that money's got to come from somewhere.
Right.
And people don't realize that somewhere is still going to be your pocket, whether you voted for it or not. That money's coming out of your pocket as a taxpayer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's, again, it's just local awareness, what policies are being pushed at local levels, at your school boards, and a lot of people, I'm not sure, they don't realize the fact that the school board members can make the decisions themselves as far as what curriculum, what books are being utilized, for their school curriculum, and at that level, the authority of the school board member is to say, no, we're not going to have those books. I don't care how it's mandated or how it's projected or who has said this is the policy. The school board members have the authority themselves to reject those recommendations. I don't care what the principal says. I don't care what the superintendent says. I don't care what non-for-profit organization is saying. This is what you need to do. The authority rests with the school board members to make the decisions as to what's appropriate to be taught K through 12.
Absolutely.
Period.
We have said it. I know you've said it millions of times. All of our candidates, I've said it, everybody that we've counseled, we have to make sure that people realize that every single name on that ballot has got to be scrutinized. Every single name needs to be voted for, because it's really, even though we look at the ballot from the top down, right? Whoever's the highest office is at the top. That ballot needs to get flipped upside down, because it's really from the bottom up, because the local government is your most important government, and it's your first line of defense. And I appreciate that CDF is helping to get that information out. And a lot of those races are nonpartisan races also.
Yes.
Of course, they may lean left or right personally, but those races, because it's utility stuff, it's mud district stuff, it's those kinds of things that are your every single day life. And it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, it affects your life. So you've got to realize what these people are doing and make sure that we're getting the right people into offices in those places. And Simon, I know that you wanted me to say it. This is why primaries matter.
Yes.
That's why
They do.
it's almost a drinking game on this show. Is
Yes,
every
they
time there's
do.
primaries.
Everything is evolved around. Well, and I'll tell you what, when I was running for office, I'm just a real quick story, and then I would love to talk about my sheriff's event. Is primaries. They do matter, because then it's, well, who do we vote for? It's always that, oh my gosh, there's nobody to vote for. Well, if you would have made the, focused on the primary race and discerned whether or not that person was the right person to be the general election. I had a lot of friends that would say to me when I was running for office, well, if you get to the general, I'll vote for you. I never vote for primaries because I don't want to be identified as a Democrat or Republican. Folks, primaries matter. Get out there, vote, and follow that candidate, interview them, look at what's being done. There are a lot of forums that are being held. Know who your decision makers are at every single level, because it does matter. It matters.
It does. I say it consistently. I say it daily. The primary it's more important than November. Because people will hold their nose and vote in November. You don't have to hold your nose and vote in March.
No.
You don't have to.
No.
You get to vote. You get to vote for the right candidate in March, and then everybody gets to vote in November.
Yes, absolutely. Let's have that choice. We have that choice.
See, Simon, it's not just me. I'm not the only crazy person that's. It was like you watch this show daily, Stephanie. You almost said it verbatim. It was hysterical. Simon just passed out in his office. I can feel it.
Yeah, that's because we're simpatico in our mindset.
It just makes sense. Well, we only have just a couple of minutes, and we want to make sure that we get a good plug. So I'll pull up the picture, and you do your part, and I'll do mine.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it. So we are hosting an event on August the 22nd, and it is a sheriff's forum, and it's interesting. You know what? Okay, so we've got candidates that are running, but maybe they're not candidates, but maybe they are candidates. But folks, this is so important. Okay. So I have some candidates, one that's actually in Galveston, but we have individuals that are running for sheriff. I'm going to mention their name: Major Nolan, Paul Day, Joe Dana, Glenn Cowan, Mike Knox, and Thaddeus Cleveland, or our sheriffs. And I thought it was important to throw and of course this is Harris County, but a border sheriff in there, because what's happening at the border is truly affecting every aspect of our daily living. And so I thought it was really important to have just a really good moderator. Chris Ann Hall is an attorney. She was actually fired for her fiery attitude against government. She is an anti-government, federal government, not government, but anti-federal government having controls over our daily living. She is really at that microcosm of local authorities and forming sheriffs. She does bring it down to the importance of what the sheriff's responsibility is constitutionally. She is a grounded constitutional attorney. She has a successful business. She is in Texas. She was in Florida. I'm so excited to have Chris Ann Hall as our moderator. She is a pastor's wife. She is a disabled veteran, and she is a rock star to come in and moderate this very important sheriff's forum. And look, it's not just for the sheriffs. We need to know where our sheriffs stand constitutionally, because again, the importance of that office, but it's also to inform the public as far as what responsibility does the sheriff have. Most people stand on the Constitution, but they don't know what it means or what it says. So this is an educational opportunity to equip and arm people with the understanding of what the authority is, and then to hold those elected officials' feet to the fire to follow the Constitution and what it says in order. And like I said, I don't care what party you are. We all have that right based on the Constitution to understand it, and then tell your neighbor, tell 10 people, tell 10 people that tell 10 people, get the fire back in, under us to pursue our constitutional rights. So I'm excited that this event is being held. We are asking people to please register. The registration link is on the graphic there to show up. We've got a QR code if they want to register utilizing that QR code. Very excited to host this opportunity to educate Harris County and people that would like to attend from other counties. We're more than happy to welcome you to this event.
Absolutely. We'll make sure that link is posted, or that flyer, is posted on the Texas Fully Loaded page as well. So you guys can have the direct there in case you didn't get the screenshot and then zoom in and all that kind of jazz. So whatever you guys need, we're going to be here to support you. Stephanie, thank you so much for spending this last hour with me. It's been a complete honor to have you on our show today. You are always welcome back anytime you need a platform. Texas Fully Loaded would love to help you guys out.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate what you all do every day.
All right. We'll see you soon. And to the rest of you guys, we love you guys. We will see you tomorrow. Same dog time, same dog channel. Charlotte, you best run in here. You know what we need to say. She's a running, y'all. Bye, y'all. Bye, y'all.